What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Now, 10th Man is recuperating, and therefore we haven't got a video lined up for today. So we're going to get plodded away for our housekeeping session, as we did have a gentleman in the pre-show that was willing to debate the nature of Earth until he found out it was all based on a flat plane. And then he fled immediately. I say immediately, we had to repeat it 5 times for him to understand it, but by the time I assume he understood it and the penny dropped 4 times in, he then dismissed himself before the 5th repetition. So feel free to check that out in the pre-show if you're a member, or if you're not, it'll come out on my second channel in 2 or 3 days' time. So you don't have to necessarily pay to be a member to watch that. It will come out for the general public anyway in a few days' time. Anyway, let's do a bit of housekeeping. And hello, Alan.
Hello.
Hello. Good to have you.
Where's everybody?
You are everybody. What do you mean? All we need is you,
am.
Alan.
I know I'm everybody, but like I see Refracted Curvature, Righteous Force in here. Where the hell is everybody else?
Well, 10th Man's a bit under the weather and he's recuperating. Brian is, I don't know, probably sleeping. I don't know. He's Irish. And then who else is there? Sleeping Warrior occasionally makes an appearance now that Bob's dead, as he likes to highlight.
Yeah, but Neil is always there in the pre-show. Where is he?
I don't know where Neil is. But, you know, I'm sure he's got stuff on. He's got a busy life. He's a family man.
Okay.
There's stuff
Fair
to do,
enough.
bills to pay, like everybody. Speaking of which, smash the super chat to support this channel. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
Well, you have to have some considerations because in the really is level, you can't find it or measure it.
Well, if you define horizontal as having no rate of change, 0 rate of change, and a curve is how much deviation from horizontal you've got, i.e. how much rate of change, I'm quite wrapping my head around this argument yet, then you can't ever define the horizon itself as being curvature, because it fundamentally defies the principle of having no rate of change, i.e. horizontal 0 rate of change. Therefore, ergo, you can't actually have a horizon on a globe.
Well, it wouldn't be
That's correct.
the apparent effect horizon, right? You would have the geometric horizon, but the geometric horizon only exists on a globe and works completely different from the apparent horizon, which is kind of double, of course, that we get to see and how it works as an optical effect exclusively over a flat plane.
You'd have to change your terminology, but yes, you'd have to substitute in the word curvature when you refer to what is formally described as the horizon. That's weird based on the housekeeping question, right? But what was formally described as the horizon, meaning their Earth curve edge in the maths. Well, horizon, horizontal, and all planes being parallel with said horizon, because it's horizontal, means that what you have on a sphere would not be a horizon. It would be something else. Now, what it would be is irrelevant. We don't have what it would be. We have a horizon. But what they've done is they've called the horizon Earth curve. They just never actually say it. When you get into the wrangle dangle, if you haven't noticed, they'll always say the horizon and argue with you about the horizon. The inference being that it's Earth curve. And in reality, the horizon, as we already know, is not Earth curve, but further to that, what you would have on Earth is not a horizon.
Well, the real big problem I see for them in calculating a sphere from the horizon is the definition of horizon does not comport with a sphere because it's got sea level meeting the sky. That doesn't, you're not going to be able to wedge that into a sphere.
Right. And the best way to pictorially demonstrate this is with the Al-Biruni method of taking said flat plane and curving it after he's measured it. I mean, the Al-Biruni switch, the Al-Biruni trick of converting flat to globe-shaped is a really concise way of showing how this is done. Look, here's a flat plane. Here's how you use it to measure stuff, in this case, height. Do it twice over a big distance. And then you can derive how high this mountain is off a flat plane. Then you go up the mountain and utilize mathematics that derive a differential from your now higher eye level to the original surface level that you got the height from. And then the surface level curves. Whoa, what's going on? Yeah. That line that we derive from eye level differentials to the surface level that we got the height from, that's now curving. What of it? You know, I mean, it was right there in front of us the whole time, but it really does take an advanced understanding to get to the point where you can concisely summarize the fact that all Al-Biruni does is violate his own measurement when he bends the very ground he's taking reference to when he makes measurement of the height of the mountain. He's bending the ground that he needs to be flat.
Yeah, he's invalidating the measurement he just took in his own mathematics to calculate the sphericity.
Exactly.
So,
it's not even paradoxic. It's not even paradoxical. It's a straight up violation of the original measurement. Well put. Okay, so again, I gave refracted curvature some very high praise in the pre-show, because in my humble opinion, the most significant, I don't know if you call it an argument, because it's a statement of fact, that you will need a flat Earth for almost every claim that you can make as a globe believer. I say almost, because we're not quite there where I can doggedly, assuredly say every globe claim, but I'm going to go with almost, little bit Weasley, every globe claim will have the statement from us moving forward. You're going to need a flat Earth for that. Again, as I say, exampled in the pre-show quite admirably, as John was in the Discord server listening to a very, very nice chap, actually. He wasn't in any way rude other than talking over me once on the fourth repetition because it was obviously too painful to bear to hear that his globe face comes from a flat Earth, as he denied that he needed radial values for orbital mechanics and other aspects of it not being reality that he was discussing at all as he was comprehending the flat plane requirement. Suddenly it's not reality that he's talking about anymore. All very interesting stuff and all very painful for the person going through it. And very wise, he left. I would have probably done the same had I been going through the same sort of cognitive dissonance, denying the very reality you're arguing about when it loses to the flat plane it needs. But there we go. Like I say, become a member and you'll see that later on today. But John got high praise because I think this is the most critical point of the argument. The fact that these roads lead back to a flat plane when you're making your globe assertion. I can't think of anything that's been stronger to date. Stronger than gas pressure without a container. More effective than the Black Swan, because it ultimately demonstrates how you would require a flat plane as opposed to debunking the physical geometry asserted with a sphere edge at radius 3959 at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet in their maths. It concisely and very, very effectively demolishes that Black Swan, that is. This is different. Make whatever claim you like. It never made sense to me why John would take that position when going against Ruhif on McToons. Well, because every single claim any of them make in that discussion will always require a flat Earth, without exception. And it held true to the point where they had to shut him down after about 25 seconds of speech, probably less. But yeah, that is this. It should be last year we were figuring out what the name of the year would be, and it's the year of the sextant, the year of the elevation angle, the year of Black Swan. This has got to get a title, right? Surely, the most monumental thing that's happened in this year, and it's sneaked in right at the end.
Well, it is the plane of reference, and it must be used.
So it's the year of the plane of reference.
Well, it's like you said, it's not an argument. It's just pointing out that they're utilizing a plane of reference, which kind of stops them from arguing.
It's not an argument. You're drawing a line under all the arguments. The fact that you can point out that you're going to need a flat Earth for all of these globe stupidity claims that have been reified into existence by the masses over the last 100 years or so, well, I'm more than content to call that a... No, you can't even call it a win, because what are you winning? We've already won all the arguments. Now we're just stating facts. Yeah, Earth's flat, and it is measured like that. For you too, globe believer. Bless you. Couldn't be a more concise punctuation mark to the entire discussion over the last, 8 to 10 years?
It's the only conclusion you can draw that makes any sense.
I've promoted my own show like twice already in this live show, but I literally cannot wait to listen back to that discussion with that guy that we had on. What was his name? Righteous? Do you know what his name was? Shout out to you, my friend. Go on, Righteous.
Bacon. It was Bacon.
Bacon?
Yeah, he was on TV too, not too long ago.
Your mic's a bit weird. You're all quiet and mumbly. Unless that's just you not knowing his name and mumbling. Anywho.
I think I heard him say bacon.
Yes, I think it was bacon.
As in pig bacon.
Yes, bacon. Okay, yeah, jolly good. Well, I don't know why you disappeared when you did I can only put it down to cognitive pain. But again, in that respect, good for you. I would have bailed too at that point. Had my entire religious viewpoint paradigm been crumbling before my very eyes. You can easily imagine it with Scientologists who come out the other end of the cult. But it's far more difficult to envisage how it happens for a globe believer in such a short period of time. Literally, it was only 10-minute discussion, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, was it that long?
Well, it took about 5 or 6 or maybe 7 minutes for him to go through his orbital mechanics and start posing questions, didn't it?
Oh, okay, yeah, you're talking about the nonsense he was spewing before. Oh, yeah, that's about right.
Oh, demolishing it took about 2 minutes. If you're saying, well, you'll need the equatorial plane, it's based on a plane of reference, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. That took 20 seconds. Take heed, please share the show. It's disappointing that there's been a bit of a break, which obviously puts a lull into the viewing figures, as there's a slight detachment from live shows with a fault on my computer. As annoying as that is. But there we go. It's at that point in the show where I say, please smash the share button, because this particular discussion point, like I say, is going to get a proper title. We'll have to give it more thought. Hello, Adam, by the way, and hello, Arthur. And hello, Eli. Didn't notice you sneak in there, Eli. How's it going? Oh, well, there was me thinking we'd get Eli with a mouthful of crisps or something, but obviously not. Oh, well. Let's do a bit more housekeeping. Hopefully I'll get you guys a bit more talkative. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Where's the Lamborghini?
Well, yeah, exactly the same. To have an axis to rotate about, it's back to orbital mechanics like in the pre-show. You're going to need a flat plane for that. You're absolutely correct.
But the moment they start saying latitude-based deviation of airplanes, right? Even though that would be an actual deviation that wouldn't conform to what Coriolis effect is. But the moment they claim latitude, they're done.
I like that little nod. You're on the highway in your Lamborghini and you're waving down at me in the back roads. Yeah, even though it's not actual drift that they're describing with their actual deflection based on latitude, they're going to need a flat plane for the latitude. Yeah, I don't think you could say that at 120, but you know what I'm talking about. You were metaphorically waving to me when you said that, weren't you, John? Yes, it's not really drifting if it's Coriolis, but that's what you're describing with your Globiolus.
Yeah, that was a subject I tried to stay away from because it could get convoluted so easily, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
There's another Carl Jobs analogy that I'm going to steal. So back in the day when I was describing my journey through Coriolis, I described it like Carl Jobs described a gentleman who was good at doing Doom 2, a video game. And what he would come across is this particular section of the game as a speedrunner that was difficult because it was a tightrope, very, very thin walls that you had to walk along. And in order to go fast, you had to go slow, as Carl Jobs put it. Now, it got to a point where the guy who is very good at doing this loathed and despised these walls, as you can imagine. He wants to go fast, he has to go slow. But over time, the more he persisted and learnt how to do the walls, the more he learnt to love them. And he got very, very good at them. Now, that is the analogy I used to give for Coriolis effect. I say used to because it's going to get a further update, like the game did. So, like with all speedrunning, somebody eventually makes a discovery that shows that you can do it a better way. Now, I think in my last rendition of this story, somebody had figured out a better way, but it still wasn't as good as doing the walls in the skilled way that the guy had learnt over many years of persistent training himself how to do these tightrope walls. But then eventually there is a better method. Yeah? There is something that happens that just means the walls are negated for whatever reason and you don't need to do them anymore. It's quicker to just not do them. That's this. That's the equivalent of this. You learn how to do the walls, you get really skilled at it, you get to the top of the charts, someone else figures out a better shortcut, negating all your hard work. But there we go. You know, the guy who's learned how to do those walls is still going to be a skilled Doom player. That's the reality of this. Yes, something he learned how to do. The fact that he could learn how to do it was because he was a skilled Doom player. It's not like somebody can just come to that game now and see the shortcut and get a world record time in Doom. No, it doesn't work like that. You've still got to be the skilled player. Sometimes your efforts are only fruitful for a limited time. And it's a bit like that with Coriolis. In order to be a skilled debater in terms of overcoming an argument from a globe believer about Earth turning based on their claim of, quote, Coriolis effect, you need to understand what Coriolis effect is, how Earth isn't exhibiting the effect, and then get around them when they start telling you, well, it's not supposed to be exhibiting that effect, and then give you a different version of a non-Coriolis effect, which isn't the effect you're arguing about, and tell you how you're stupid when you say it should be drifting? Flat Earther? Why would you say it would drift? Burden of proof reversal fallacy, and the actual onus of the proof itself being put on you in the positive when you're not claiming anything. A la Simon, Dan, you and your reference frames are ruined, aimed at me. I don't have any, Dan. You're the one with globe Earth turning and second reference frame not turning underneath. Why would we have drift? Meanwhile, John, in his Lamborghini, goes over the top of the highway, waving at me, pointing out that their now Globiolus latitude-based deviation that is actual, unlike Coriolis effect, requires a flat plane of reference. You're gonna need a flat Earth for that. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, if you were going to try to use radar to claim that you could measure the distance, that would also need a plane of reference for the radar. So I don't know if you're going to be able to use that.
Radar? We argued about radar in 2016. And I even have it as my backdrop, right? So I've got like a radar backdrop spinning around, flat. Obviously alluding to the flat plane nature of the reality that we inhabit. But back in 2016, I'm going to say, people were talking about like radar shadow and stuff. And how if Earth was spherical, you'd just not be able to see past the edge with radar. Can anyone recall the arguments from I'm going to say 2016. It is a long time ago. Clearly not.
What were you arguing about? The physical obstruction of the flat plane of reference?
You got there quicker than I did. What a concise summary that was. Epic. Yes, indeed. That's why I was bringing it up from the past in past tense to say, yeah. Can you say that again? Because that was more concise than I'm going to even attempt.
The physical obstruction of the flat plane of reference.
Precisely. The physical obstruction of the flat plane of reference. You're on fire. Yeah, that's what was happening back in 2016. Just beggars belief now when you think about it. How far we've come, I mean. And there it is on screen. Flat plane of reference. It's labelled on this as the ecliptic, and longitude is also labelled there. But yeah, you've got basically a globe Earth wrapped around a giant extended plane that goes way beyond the extremities of the sphere Earth radius. Why? Well, because you've got a flat plane that you're dealing with, and the whole of the ground isn't wrapped around itself underneath itself. It's extending out in all directions. And that's how it's navigated. And that's how it's been measured. And that's how all the grids have been derived. And that's how the globe came to be. It's just nuts. What a wonderful time to be a flat earther. Why have we only got 70 people watching? I will not focus on the negative. Glass half full. Wow! 70 people watching. A massive thank you to all of you who shared already. Please smash the share button if you've not done so already. Groundbreaking flat earth revolution. Right here, right now. Please share the show. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Are you talking about the eccentricity of bodies in motion?
I am. Well, if I was a globe believer, I may reify it into that description.
Oh, that needs a horizontal plane of reference.
You mean you'll need a flat Earth to claim orbital mechanics?
Yes. Yeah. It's called the elements of orbital mechanics. There's 6 of them. They all utilize a flat plane.
Please share the show far and wide across the plane. Says, is it Expedition Truth? Really brought my monitor a little bit closer at the beginning of the show. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not yet.
Righteous, can you dig out that video you were referencing earlier? He's not listening, is he? In any event, any evidence of a self-perpetuating, molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, you don't hear a lot about it anymore. I mean, they seem to be switching around as to what they presuppose is there, even as a core. Whether it's molten or solid and spinning, or yeah, they still seem to be trying to figure out what this core is supposed to be.
Well, if you're going to try to calculate,
I had a line in between. We'll keep
Like
pitching them at you.
happy.
Hold on, both of you. We'll keep pitching at you, John. You just keep knocking them out the park. Go ahead.
well, if you want to calculate what the molten iron core or center of Earth is made of, with P waves and S waves, you'll need a plane of reference in order to measure down into the ground.
You mean in terms of the claim proof that they throw back at us, in terms of primary and secondary wave return angles? They're going to need a flat plane for that.
Yes.
Oh, yet another road leading to flat Earth. Isn't it wonderful? What haven't we had in housekeeping so far? Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
You have to use curved geometry and then nothing works. Like literally nothing. But you can do it then. Just don't ask how it's calculated.
Any evidence that you can assert Earth is a sphere without the use of a flat plane measurement?
Now that's just unfair.
I'm calling it. I'm going to turn this into a housekeeping question. This needs to be a housekeeping question. I don't know what I just rattled off. It's been a long night. But we need a housekeeping question for this. Any evidence that you can assert the Earth is a sphere without first measuring Earth as flat, or something to that effect? If you're watching this after the fact and you're not watching live, or if you are watching live, wait till 10 minutes after the video ends, the live stream ends, leave a comment with what you think the housekeeping question should be. But we're referencing the fact that all roads are going to lead to a flat Earth, and that all the measurements that are utilized to infer that the Earth is a sphere are flat. We want a housekeeping. I want a housekeeping question for this. This, like I say, is a turning point. We've got our elevation angle measurement from curved baselines. You know, we've got any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge. We've got our links back to sextants and black swans, and molten iron core, believe it or not, is the original housekeeping question. So when people are like, well, that seems so farcical now, why'd you keep it in? It's the first one. Why?
Nathan, we already have that question.
I know we've already had it, but I'm sort of looking back over time. And why have we got molten iron core as a housekeeping question at all? Well, it's because it marks a turning point in the debate where Anthony Riley asked Paul Voigt, have you got any evidence of the molten iron core? And he said, I'll be right back with it. That was about 7 years ago.
Yeah, but that is the question of R. Any evidence of R? You're going to need a flat plane for R. That's the question.
Well, maybe that's what...
No, he was just digging down, trying to find the molten iron core, and then he lost his way, like in a Jules Verne cavern or something, with dinosaurs.
Don't let George's point just wave by, because he's got a good point, right? Suddenly it kind of negates the question of any evidence of the R value, because the answer to that question is you'll need a flat plane for that. Therefore, perhaps it needs to incorporate R into the question, but we may as well ask it. It's a housekeeping question. Any evidence of the R value?
You're going to need a flat plane for that?
Indeed. Yes, you will. Hey, Brian.
You might be better as a, excuse the vernacular, a strap-on then. If you're going to do any evidence of the R value, it might be worth adding it to something like that, or any evidence of an R value that has not been obtained from a flat baseline.
Oh, that's beautiful. Any evidence of the R value that has not been acquired by way of a flat plane measurement. That's brilliant.
Ouch. That's a very painful one.
If you were going to do it that way, though, you'd have to strap it onto all the housekeeping questions.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I think it deserves one in its own right, and we shouldn't necessarily, incorporate it into the R value. But George's point is still absolutely relevant for R more than any of them, because where does R come from? Well, when you measure a flat plane, you'll get the R, and that'll be used to infer Earth's a sphere.
Any evidence of any measurement that relates to a sphere that has not been initially measured from a flat baseline. Needs a bit of tweaking, but if you want
it needs a bit of refinement. We'll get there. We'll definitely get there. But there's going to be a new housekeeping question, and it's going to be about all roads leading to a flat Earth, because they do. Last but by no means least. Down one at number 2. Any evidence that you can acquire gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? Dun, 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 dun.
Well,
Gravity is the container. Gravity.
Given that they claim that atmosphere is horizontal, or no, that'd be vertical boundary layers, right? Like it's layers, horizontal layers of. Oh no, can't use horizontal.
And surely their inference of a sphere-shaped atmo is going to need a flat plane also.
Well, they call it atmosphere, but they're talking about horizontal boundaries as you rise in altitude. So,
The surface of Earth is the container.
It's not, I know that's the housekeeping question, but that's not necessarily what we're referencing, right? When they derive descriptions of mesosphere, atmosphere, all of these sphere-shaped, whatever you're going to call that fantasy area, what John's saying is they're describing boundary layers that are horizontal in nature, a la Snell's law, right? The way you do the maths for Snell's law is you're calculating what happens at the boundary when the light changes its direction, when it deviates from straight. That's what you would call refraction. That is Snell's law. That is refraction. But you're talking about a horizontal boundary necessitated by the calculation.
Yeah, so what if terrestrial refraction does everything the opposite from everything that we know about refraction, right?
Well, you've now
The
thrown
less
in
thick the
terrestrial
air,
refraction.
the more it refracts. The more thick the air, the
Hold
less
on,
it
Arwin.
refracts.
You're making it more confusing. We're not talking about refraction from the globe. We're not talking about terrestrial refraction. That's something else. What John's describing is how gases actually behave and how the descriptions in their maths, I don't know if this is the true connection for mesosphere and thermosphere or all the rest of them, but certainly there's a derivation in Snell's law for refraction, not terrestrial refraction. That's why I'm biting your head off, because it's just going to confuse things if you throw that in at this stage, that requires a horizontal boundary layer to traverse when you're describing the deviation from straight in Snell's law. Well, I'm just trying to tease it out of John because it's his point, as opposed to link it back to 7/6 of a radius. Sorry, Arwin.
That's fine.
well, they're talking about vertical boundaries and layers of gases in that vertical. You can't invoke the vertical without a plane of reference.
Okay. I don't fully understand. I understand that you can't invoke vertical without horizontal. But when they're talking about sphere shape this and sphere shape that, you're saying that I don't really follow.
Nathan,
What they're
sorry, John, I'll be quick. What John's talking about is air boundary layers. They're all based on a vertical and horizontal plane. The claim of atmosphere is just a pre-assumption. So it doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean? They just add that in at the end. You know, things like all these other sphere-shaped air boundaries they talk about as you rise in altitude. They're all just pre-assumptions. There's no evidence for any of that.
I see. So you're saying when you get a pictorial example and they show you and give you a measurement of how high it is, the how high it is going to require a horizontal plane of reference to give you the height in the same way as when you're talking about, what do they call those little lines on a map? They're not isobars. What are they called?
Are you talking about the circles?
The circles that tell you how high things are off the...
I know what you're talking about. They use them on ordnance survey maps.
Yeah, we used to debate about them in the Isle of Man discussion,
Yeah.
not realising the irony of how that measurement would need a flat plane. But the point is that when you're describing height of anything off the ground, you're going to be in reference to sea level. And then you're going to describe how high or low, if you're describing valleys in seas or whatever, it is with reference to that horizontal plane, sea level, yeah, as an average across the entire world.
GPS.
Well, when you're describing these horizontal layers in terms of their height, where does the mesosphere start? Well, they're going to ascribe a height to it. And John's saying, as I understand it, that therefore you are automatically inferring a plane of reference to give you the derivation to tell us how high it is. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, anything in relation to altitude is going to require a plane of reference to get that altitude.
Right.
So if you're talking about layers of gases and their altitude from the surface, you need a flat plane for that.
Gotcha. Now I understand. I'm glad we went through this. So it's no different to saying how high the mountain is.
No, not really, because their limit stops at the max height that a high altitude balloon can go. So all they're doing is referencing in vertical height above a horizontal plane, the air pressures. Basically, that's all they're referencing, and temperatures as they rise up. So I think it's like 30 to 36 miles. I think is the max, if it's even that. I'm sorry, not even that. No, but they can go with a high altitude balloon. I'm not sure what the actual max is, but it's between 20 and 30 miles, something like that. And that's it. That's just a vertical, like directly straight up balloon. Because if you go over a helium balloon, with the exception of wind and stuff, like it goes kind of straight up. That's what it does. Like it's like a ping pong ball in water, it goes straight up. So that's what they do. They take readings off of them. Other than that, NASA and other space agencies claim to send what they call sounding rockets out into.
I missed that. They send what?
Sorry?
I just missed it. You broke up, or I just couldn't hear what you said.
Sounding rockets.
Sounding blocks.
Right. Rockets or
sounding rockets. Okay.
Yeah, out into their claimed entropy violation, and these rockets have a payload on them that is dropped back down to the Earth. So what they're doing is, when you can't go any higher with a high altitude balloon, they're claiming to violate entropies. In other words, they don't have a clue. After a certain height, they have no idea what's up there.
Sure, I'm not going to dispute that they may do these things with rockets, though. Just because they say that they're going up to a second law of thermodynamics violation to take these measurements doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't sent a rocket to physically do that task. It's just not going to Narnia, right? It's just going up in the sky, very high. Higher than maybe a balloon can travel, and maybe a rocket can get you higher. I don't know, because we obviously, when it comes to talking about, literally about, hate to use this term because it's not true, but rocket science, then what you're describing is shrouded in the biggest, thickest layer of bullshit there can be. So where do you get any true information about stuff like this? Because it's going to be under the guise of whoever, SpaceX or NASA or whoever. Therefore, all you're going to have to do is wade through the same amount of convoluted garbage that you would if you were picking apart ISS fakery. So in other words, what I'm asking, Brian, is how do you validate or invalidate, in this instance, from your position, what they do with these rockets?
Well, I can only state that they claim to go out into a heliocentric vacuum. That's all I can state. That's the only information you can get. You know that's what they're claiming to do. Now, we know they can't. That's impossible. So other than that, I don't know. If you just look at what altitude they're claiming to go to, where they're claiming to go to.
Yes. I don't disagree. That would be the absolute stance that I would take, and it's the correct one. But it just does kind of raise the question of, well, what is rocket technology actually being utilized for in practical application, given that back in the very first or second video that I made was about the scale model that was the shuttle, how you could scale it with the fences that ran down to people and say how high this thing was, and then look up how high they say it is, and it was about a 1/3 scale model that they actually shoot up, presumably because it's cheaper. And who's going to know the difference at distance, right? Why shoot a massive one up when you can shoot 1/3 the size one up and no one knows any different? Well, given that that's the case, you go, okay, I know there's a lot of fakery when it comes to sending stuff up. And obviously they're not going to a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum called space. There is no way to get to what we would equivocate with Narnia, because it's not real. There is no outer space sky vacuum. We'd all be dead because we'd have no gas to breathe. But what can rockets do is kind of my question. Do they actually offer you the ability to study higher reaches of the sky or not?
But the problem is you'd have to actually validate that these rockets are going up there. Because all they have to do is make the claim that they're doing this and give you some data that they supposedly got from this. And that data is based on a heliocentric globe model. I mean, they don't have to send any rockets up there. They just have to tell you they did. You don't know any different. And you won't be able to prove they did or didn't.
Okay, notwithstanding the fact that they lie through their back teeth about every aspect of rocket technology, could it be the case that the entire premise of rocket technology itself, forget the sky vacuum for a second, yeah? Could it be that rockets do have some useful practical application to go high and study stuff, or not? Maybe it's a complete sham and you can't go high, and how high the balloons go is just how high you can go.
Well,
Brian did mention heliocentric rhetoric, which requires a flat plane of reference to get the measurements of height from the surface. So whether they're actually doing it or not, they'll still need to reference a flat plane.
But we know that this is the problem. The stance typically is they're wasting a lot of money lying to you about the globe with rockets. Okay, we all get that. We just cut to the chase and say space is fake. If they're saying they're going to space, it's automatically bunk. But then it does kind of, like I say, leave the question. Okay, well, they are sending a lot of rockets up. Now, maybe they just dump them in the ocean and they've got no practical application whatsoever. It is a complete charade. Or maybe they do actually put them to practical use in some way. Or maybe rockets are of some practical use. Alternatively, maybe they're not. Maybe they're a literal complete folly, have no practical use whatsoever, and just fireworks. That's kind of what I'm digging for. Are they totally useless fireworks, only there to control your perception of what the sky is? Or do they go, well, we might as well get some data while we're up there?
Well, they might just kind of safely land the rockets. It sounds weird because there's a suspicion that there are balloon aspects about these rockets, and that would certainly make it a lot easier for it to just land as soon as the fuel's spent, right? You just let it float down and then now we can collect it again. We might be able to use it again, right? It doesn't even have to crash, because if there's a balloon aspect,
it doesn't have to go up in the first place, though, Arwen. It doesn't need to go up there in the first place. It just need to say
for the demonstration, of course. That's what it's there for.
But sounding rockets wouldn't be a big deal for a sounding rocket like it would be for a SpaceX. Sounding rockets are just like this rocket that NASA and them claim to shoot up in the air. And that's it. It's just a rocket. There's no one on board. It just collects data.
I wasn't talking about SpaceX or officially re-landing rockets. I'm talking about the space shuttle, the main rockets. It's probably partially balloon-based, and that would make it very easy to just let it land.
I think I'm mixing up things a bit. What I'm talking about is not something that, like a big rocket, like with people on or atmosphere like that they're claiming that. This is a sounding rocket. It's a smaller rocket that's sent up high altitudes to gain data. It has a payload, and the payload supposedly comes back down, and they get the data from the payload, and then they can reuse that payload part. This is what they claim. But the point is that this is such a small event, because it's only based around weather and their claim of atmosphere, that they don't publicize this. I don't think I've ever seen any video of it. It's just, I know if they show you a video, just be of probably a small or medium-sized rocket that has nobody on it at this random place that goes up in the air, and that's it.
What do you mean? Don't they just have weather balloons for that, literally?
But that's the point.
Go up very high, and they continually give them data. They continually give meteorological data.
I don't think you're listening. You were listening earlier. You must have missed it. After the point in the sky where weather balloons can't go any higher, right? They then claim that NASA and whoever are shooting sounding rockets up in past that point and gaining more data on the mesosphere and all these other places. And the rockets go into outer space. That's what they claim.
I don't believe a word of it. I don't think rockets will go up.
I don't either.
I mean, the air is so thin, it's a miracle those weather balloons are even capable of going that high, right? Because rockets, they don't have enough air to push on at that height to reach higher up. It's going to have to do with whatever momentum it gets from the ground, and it's not enough. So rockets typically don't go past weather balloons, as far as I know. You might be able to shoot them down, but they're not going to go beyond.
Yeah, well, what I would say about it is whatever you're going to get into the wrangle of can rockets work in space argument there. In it, that's where it'll go to. I just would say they're not sending anything up that. They're just telling you. They don't have to. They just have to say they did do it. You have no evidence they didn't. How are you going to ever even verify any of this? They can always just show you a video of a small rock going up into the air and you don't know where it went to. Do you know what I mean? You have nothing. They just give you data then.
You don't really know how high that is from just a bunch of visual.
Yeah, but they can just hand you data then later on. You know what I mean? Just the data that came back and there's any amount of rubbish. You know what I mean? This is the thing. I don't believe for a moment there's anything going higher than a high altitude balloon. I don't believe for a moment. But I mean, I stand to be corrected, but I don't know what they have to go higher. You know what I mean? It's, high altitude balloons is about it.
Okay, so we've got about 10, 15 minutes, maybe a bit less, left on this live stream. And in the pre-show, or just, was it in the live show? I forget. This got brought up. Now, from what Righteous Force was saying, I think we may have covered this before. Is that the case, Righteous? Space flight, the application of orbital mechanics.
Yes, that's what
We
I
covered
got
this.
it from looking at the history of Skype.
Okay.
So
Well, what you wanted to do more specifically, because we've covered this already in terms of the video content, you wanted to go through the comments, did you not?
I think Sheldon mentioned that.
Okay.
Oh, I was talking about the comments of that video that we reviewed. The people in it had said that it was more educational than a complete year of astrophysics.
I see. So, in other words, where people are giving it praise, like this guy. What a great video from 1989. I mean, nowadays, we hear every word of this video in the launch commentary. This video helped me understand these much better. Things like that. 24 thumbs up on that comment. Yes, Nathan, just exactly as I was hoping you'd point out. Well, I'm glad I did.
Well, if everybody's agreeing with that, then that's kind of like open and shut case, right? They presented a video and everybody's agreeing with it, and then they're basically agreeing to FE then, in a sense.
Yes, well, you've obviously spotted where I was hoping this would go pretty quickly. Indeed. So if everybody appreciates how in this video from 12 years ago, that's published from 1989 originally, how they're utilizing a flat plane of reference, and then the commenters are all saying how wonderful it is that this has made it so easy to understand how a flat earth is required, then every one of these commenters needs, a response from me, if I had the time. Yeah, great that you now appreciate how a flat earth's required. Yeah, you're going to need a flat earth for that. Amazing, outstanding, a true old school documentary. Thank you. You're welcome to the flat earth that was proven in it, etc., etc.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Someone else was getting ready to talk. I was just going to put in some fluff.
Well, I'm saying I don't seem to see any comments that say at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and we've covered this video. Maybe they've all been removed. In any event, we've covered it in the past, so I may as well put a link to it now. Please let this videographer know. NASA STI program at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So there'll be a link whizzing by right now in the live stream chat. So check it out. There we go. If you're a live stream watcher as we speak, you can see there's a link going by in the comments. So please let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The idea being that if someone were to spot that a commenter said at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, they would come here and see what the fuss was about. And if the videographer saw the comments, they would hopefully make a response. In this case, NASA to little old me. And they would leave a link to our video when responding so that we receive some algorithmic love from YouTube where they offer us none. Anyway, was that all you wanted to cover in that respect, Righteous? Is that I have got the right subject for what we were covering in the pre-show, right?
Right.
Excellent. So I was gone for a week, and over the last couple of days, I haven't really had my full attention. There's still a couple of little niggles I'm working out with the computer. There was one just then I couldn't get the sound to work correctly for that video, although it's actually probably worth testing that actually does work now I've got it working. Just as terrible as this may be to do in the middle of a live show, can you all hear this?
With an eccentricity equal to or greater than 1 will escape the Earth's gravitational field.
You're going to need a flat Earth for that. Sorry, did you all hear that?
I heard it.
We heard it.
Yay! Seems like everything is literally back to normal. And it only took about 2 weeks. Isn't that amazing? So fast, so speedy. I've actually asked my tech guy, sorry to segue away from flat Earth debate, if he'll help me set up like a, I don't want to call it a restore point, because that's, I know what a restore point is, and it's not that what I want. I want like a mirror of my entire operating system on a different drive, as I've got a couple of spare drives now. I'm not lacking space, so I might as well have a complete mirror, so I don't have to go through that faff again. I didn't actually look if he'd responded in that regard. I'm sure he's more concerned the computer's not falling over, which it isn't now. But hopefully I'll be able to get something together with his help where I can have like a separate drive. And then if the show collapses, I'll just use a different drive and it'll go back to this point now, today. Like nothing's changed. So if something cocks it up in the meantime, I can just go back to this point in time. Anyway, that's a different issue for after show or pre-show discussions, not the live show. I was going to say that over the last week, I was definitely not paying attention to what was going on in the arena of flat Earth discussions, and in that period, QE did a proof which we vaguely covered earlier. QE helped me out by going through it twice yesterday in yesterday's pre-show. Again, become a member if you want to see that. Me slowly having the penny drop of how anything that's derived from a horizontal can't have a rate of change described, aka curve. Therefore, the description of a horizon is a violation on a sphere. Or to put it another way, you can't have a horizon on a sphere. Well, that sort of thing is something that passed me by during the week, but was there anything else that I missed while I was faffing around with computers?
There was the time zone terror. Did you get that from yesterday?
No. What I was doing was putting the fine tweaks on everything that I'd set back to stock to start getting the computer together. So those fine tunings have been re-put in place yesterday evening, specifically the graphics card. Another little issue I was having is, as of putting new Windows on, it sets itself to like balance mode, and for whatever reason, balance mode will crash the computer in standby. So today, I forgot to change the sound settings, which is the reason that video didn't come out initially, or it came out but just not to the audience, or it came out to me. I don't know how it was working. Anyway, it didn't work correctly, and it's because I forgot to change the sound setting. Well, the reason I forgot to change the sound setting is because during a swimming lesson, I came back after seeing the computer all functioning. It had gone to sleep, but wouldn't come back out of sleep. So it was all on, and my little Elgato Stream Deck thing was, on and showing its logo, but the computer wouldn't come out of standby, so I had to force close it and then turn it back on again. So I had a quick look online, and it's like, if this is happening or you get weird distorted sound from music, which I do when the monitor turns itself off occasionally, it'll make a weird distorted sound. It's like, put your computer into performance mode rather than in balance mode. I'm like, okay. It's like, apparently there's all sorts of crazy efficiency settings in the chip that I wasn't aware of, and obviously I don't know, I can't check, but I assume that in previous times I've always had it on performance mode, whereas as standard on a Windows install, it's balanced, and that causes me problems, namely it crashing in standby. But there we go. That's just a different issue. Again, I shouldn't really be discussing this in a live show, but these things are slowly getting away from me now. Hopefully won't ever discuss these things in a live show. Certainly won't be discussed at the beginning of a live show again, now that things are getting closer to the nice, easy, not thinking about the computer, as I haven't done throughout this show, other than it not coming out of standby at the beginning. Hello, Quantum Eraser. 5 minutes left on the live stream. QE turns up. It's because the clocks have changed today.
How's it going, there, boys?
Very well. How are you?
Hey, QE.
I was just asking what I'd missed, actually. What'd I miss?
What'd you miss from what?
What did I miss from the week or 10 days or maybe a couple of weeks that I was not streaming and fixing computers?
How can you have a horizon on a sphere tard?
I just covered that just before you got here, actually, because you covered it with me in my pre-show yesterday. So, yeah, kudos.
Cool.
Excellent.
It'd be a housekeeping question, don't you think?
Yes, I do believe so. I mean, the fact that there can't be a horizon on a sphere is pretty monumental, along with all roads leading to a flat Earth. There's a couple of things. There was another one as well. I can't remember what it was. There's several things that need refining into housekeeping questions at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a flat earther, I would say. 85 people watching. Hopefully, by the end of the week, we'll nudge it back up to 100 again. We'll get that momentum that was lost over those 10 days without live streams. But for now, thank you to everyone who has shared. Good to have almost 90 people watching, 89 people. Please share the show, smash that share button, stick it out on Facebook and X. It's been a great show. Obviously, it's largely me talking, but that is largely why it's been a great show.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I'm glad you're there, Bright. I'll fill for a minute if I can. We were talking last night. You were just talking about getting a new housekeeping question. During Brian's presentation last night, I kind of half-arsed formulated, like I've done this afternoon, and modus tollens for it. And I think what Brian did last night is probably maybe another housekeeping question. I don't know if you saw last night, Nathan, or...
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Tweeting, weren't you, I think? But Brian's presentation in terms of equivalent parallels in the north and south latitude not having equivalent time zones for the same distance. I think that's worth I think QE could get that into a nice modus tolerance for us. Or a housekeeping question.
Yeah, they're two different things. Right?
Well, I'll not be fussy then. I'll have one of. Take your pick. Either a logical syllogism or a housekeeping question.
Why not both?
Because you just said I can't have both. They're two different things. I thought I was being too greedy.
You can take care of them.
You get onto that, Adam, immediately.
That's why I've muted. I've just got my pens and crayons out now.
They're jolly good. Don't be munching them.
Yeah. No, the pens for writing, the crayons for chewing.
As it should be. Anything else? Did I miss anything else?
I got a Skype from Roofy last night. I thought it was because we goaded him a little bit on QE Live. But apparently he's been involved in a debate on Jeranism. So I've yet to watch it, but he's just sent me the link. I said, is it worth doing a review on? So we'll see if it is. I don't think he's responded yet.
Stick it in Master B. Let's have a look.
Let's have a little look then. Copy the link into Master B.
Ruhif has taught me more about living on a flat plane, almost, or how they utilize a flat plane to assert things than just about anybody, I think.
Nick Quinn versus Ruhif on Debatism.
Nick who?
Nick Quinn. I've never heard of him, which is... He might be an Ethereum if he's representing Flat Earth on Jaren's show. It's him versus Roofy.
Okay.
The shape of the Earth, flat plane versus sphere. Debate. 6 questions. Is it?
I've got the link.
9.
Thank you very much for sending it. We'll have a little look. We've only got a couple of minutes left on this live stream, but it might be something we do for tomorrow. We'll have a little looky.
Probably not a bad idea. Probably worth. I did say to him, is it worth a review?
Right,
so I'll see what he says.
Nick, since you went first, you get to ask your first question of Ruif. And by the way, just so people know how this works, if you're interested in debating, you can go to jeranism.com/debate, or you can go to t.me/Jeranism Jaronism, or you can go email debateism@outlook.com and get your name in there. But one choice that you have is whether or not you want to debate blind or whether you want to debate by letting the other person know your claims and questions. So these two gentlemen have shared already, so they both know what the other person is presenting. And so I think on some of those nights we might have better responses to some of the things, but maybe not. We'll have to see how it works. So we've got, you get to ask a question of 1 minute. Go ahead when you're ready.
So atmospheric compression is a real phenomenon. So when I...
Atmo, what now? No, you're begging the question of sphere-shaped air, which is an oxymoron, but you're declaring it straight out of the gate as being true. I don't get it.
I mean, why doesn't it curve?
I know.
When objects are shrinking in the distance, it should curve at some point, like it should disappear. We use cameras to bring back stuff, or you can even watch it, fade away into the distance. It never actually goes down. So that's what I was getting at. It never curves. So why does it never curve?
Alternatively, if the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to your claimed geometric limitation called Earth curve would be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the distance to the horizon in the Black Swan is beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere Earth radius 3959. Therefore, the Earth's not a sphere, and the horizon's not Earth curve. Furthermore, you can't have a horizon on a globe.
Okay, Riff, you got a minute when you want. Go ahead.
So, can I share? 1 sec.
Yep. Oops, I started recording my bad.
Cool. So I did ask several times what you meant by curving atmospheric compression. So compression due to atmosphere is a refraction effect.
Compression in sphere-shaped oxymoron? No, I don't think so, Ruhif. Yeah, we can definitely cover this tomorrow. This is good. I'm already getting into this. Everybody down with that?
Yeah, down.
Hell yeah.
Okay, cool. Props to Jaron. So far, so good. I've got to admit, very slick, Jaron. You're doing good. You're a good host in this one so far. Hey.
As far as the housekeeping question about the slope-a-dope, could it be, how can the horizon have a slope of 0 when curvature is the rate of change of slope?
Keep it simple.
It's good. It's still good. Got to throw these ideas around. I love it.
Keep it simple.
What? How can you have a horizon on a sphere, Tard?
Yeah, well, you don't have to say Tard. You know the deal. That's just my lingo.
But it needs contextualizing within the question if it's going to be a housekeeping question. That is to say, it must allude to the purpose of why you're asking. Just saying, how can you have a horizon on a sphere? It doesn't let the audience know why you're asking the question. It does need refinement. That's too simple.
Too concise?
Too concise, yeah. Not very often I say that. Too concise, yeah.
The hell you say, sir?
I do. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!